Okay, so can you briefly tell us your background? Just let us know who you are and your background.
My name is SKC Ogbonnia. Because I'm a Nigerian. I'm from Ugbo town in Enugu State. And because I worked in NMPC, I worked in UBA, also currently the chairman of First Texas Energy Corporation. I have a bachelor's degree in civil engineering. I have a master's in sociology, and I have master's in public administration. And I have my PhD in leadership, and I have advanced studies in law.
Okay, and can you tell us your background in politics, specifically in Nigerian politics?
Well, my background in Nigerian politics is I've been an activist the greater part of my life. And I could say that in the year around 2014, I was one of the few who anchored the youth community in supporting Buhari for the presidency of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And not long after, go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead, please. I'm listening to you.
I supported Buhari in 2015, very aggressively too.
So you believe there was a need for change back then?
I believe there was a need for change. And I still believe there was a need for change.
Okay. So looking at 2015, like you supported him, but 2019 you ran against him. You were one of the APC Presidential Aspirants against President Muhammadu Buhari, but you dropped out of that race. Why did you run against him, and why did you drop out?
As soon as he gained power, we came to realize that he had no business going close to power. He quickly outlived his usefulness. And I thought it was necessary that we let him know that he was no longer wanted in Nigeria as his leader. I thought that him leading the movement that was able to make it possible for an opposition party to gain power in Nigeria is very instructive and will remain important in the history. And with that, I thought he should have given way, paved way, has no business whatsoever going for second term.
So you're saying that you ran against him simply because he outlived his usefulness, not because from 2015 to 2019 he did not achieve enough to go for second term. That's what you're saying?
He quickly became a terrorist leader instead of the president of the people. Then he had no business whatsoever to remain Nigeria's president.
So why did you quit? Why didn't you go through with the race?
I didn't actually quit in the race. They've made it difficult for me to participate the way I wanted to participate. They didn't allow me to buy the nomination ticket. So many things happened. Of course, you guys are Nigerians and you know how they skinned me out. They didn't even allow me to pick up the ticket, pick up the nomination form, sorry.
Okay, who is this day that didn't allow you to pick up the nomination form? Because as a Nigerian, it's your right to contest elections, to vote and be voted for. And if it didn't work in APC, why didn't you move to another political party? Well,
I'm a realist. I know that you couldn't gain power in Nigeria unless you're in either APC or in PDP. So what's the point going to mushroom party that I know will not be able to, succeed or to? I didn't go to run just to run. I went to run to see if I could gain power, truly gain power. Yeah. So I know as Nigeria stands today, it's going to be very difficult for you to gain power through any of the mushroom parties. So I still believe in the concept of two dynamic parties. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about 2015. 2015's administration to date. Do you think the Buhari-led administration has done anything, has gained anything, has achieved anything to be recognized as a true leader? Because you are a leadership expert. So from your expertise, can you just analyze his achievements for us?
Well, one can say that Buhari has made some significant difference in infrastructural development, practical infrastructural development. For example, I happen to come from the eastern part of the country, and most of the projects that were promised by the PTP the last 16 years they were in power never came to fruition. I call them phantom projects. For example, the River Niger, Enugu-Onitsha Road, Enugu-Port Express Road, Onitsha-Owerri Road, Zik Library, River Niger Bridge. All these things are receiving real attention during the Buhari administration. But he can do all he wants to do. But once he's a terrorist leader, none of those infrastructural development matters. Buhari is a terrorist leader, and he should be recognized as such. There's no point calling him president of the people. People should equate him with terrorism anytime his name is being mentioned. But Nigerians are very naive. Buhari is a terrorist.
Okay, remember that you can participate in the discussion simply by raising your digital hand, and we will try to accommodate you as time permits. You mentioned some of the projects he supposedly accomplished. Now, are you aware that the River Niger that you mentioned that is receiving, in your words, receiving attention is about to fall? The cracks on the road are real, and analysts have been coming out to say that this road is about to fall. It needs to be closed down immediately. But the federal government has not made any statement pertaining to that fact. And the River Niger is something that have been talked about every single time achievements of Buhari has been mentioned. And you just mentioned right now. So do you actually believe that the infrastructures that you're mentioning now, most of them are not phantom projects also?
Well, let us be realistic. PDP had 16 years. They gave you nothing.
I'm not comparing the PDP right now.
I understand, but eventually leadership is all about comparison. Okay. You got to compare A and B and see where we are. We're only waiting Buhari to failure because of the abundant resources within his reach that he failed to capitalize or maximize towards the development of the people. If we don't have any resources, what are you going to be comparing Buhari to? But compared to the previous government, in terms of infrastructural development, yes, Buhari is better there. But when it comes to the general leadership, leading the people, Buhari comes last. That's what I'm saying. I don't want to come to a situation where I'm going to say that, well, Buhari is totally wrong in every aspect of leadership. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to give credit where credit is due. If Buhari didn't turn into a terrorist, it could have been a different thing altogether.
You keep mentioning, you keep equating Buhari and terrorism and being a terrorist. You said that anytime his name is mentioned, he should be equated to a terrorist. Why are you so confident in your accusation?
What do you call human being who goes to the middle of the night to kill people, to terrorize a community? What is that? What's the meaning of terror? A terrorist is somebody who terrorizes people. Saddam Hussein was not this bad. Saddam Hussein was not this bad. Gaddafi was not this bad. Look at what he did with Iboho. Look at what he did with Nnamdi Kanu's village some few years back. Look at what the Fulani terrorist herdsmen are doing. I don't know if some of you know, but many Nigerian reporters don't know this, and I'm surprised. The Fulani herdsmen were categorized as a terrorist group since 2014. Since 2014, as a terrorist group. That's what the Nigerian media should be pointing out. But nobody says that. The Fulani herdsmen were branded terrorists, not by me, not by Nigeria, not by Jonathan, but by the international bodies. And you are leading a nation where you are allowing such a terrorist group to be roaming around. You are leading them. You don't see anything wrong in them. You are cheering them. So what is a terrorist then? Look at what Sowore is going through in Nigeria. Does that not terror? So what do you call a terrorist then? If you can kill people, go to people's house, murder them at the middle of the night, what terror is more consequential than that, man? So I don't even know why anybody will asking me why I'm calling Buhari a terrorist. He is one.
Okay, Dr. Ogbonnia, I remember this is a public forum, and if you're going to lay such strong accusations, you have to back it up with evidence. Do you have any evidence of this act and how it directly involves the president?
Augusta, President Muhammadu Buhari is the commander-in-chief of Nigerian armed forces. He commands the Navy, he commands the army, he commands the military police, whatever, all those military people that go to terrorize people, they're under Buhari. He tells them when to go and when not to go. He tells them when to go and when not to go. If the leader of the terrorists is a president, he's a terrorist. If he can then, look, come on. I don't even know why anybody was asking me to come out with an evidence why Buhari is a terrorist. You're looking at the history from the rear view mirror. We've gone beyond that.
Dr. Ogbonnia?
You're breaking up. Yeah, right.
Yes. Okay. Okay. So you also in your last statement, you also mentioned the herdsmen, the Fulani herdsmen were prescribed as a terrorist group back in 2014. Are you telling me that when you were supporting him in 2015, you did not expect that if he gets to power, he was going to act the way he acted towards the Fulani herdsmen?
Well, actually,
did not see that coming.
No, we never saw that coming. We were looking at Buhari from the prism of Buhari Diaspora regime of the 1984-85. We thought he was coming to clean house. That's why some of them supported him. Some of us supported him. We thought he was coming to clean house. We weren't expecting that these crooks, these corrupt men will roam in the street without no consequences. That's why we supported Buhari. He failed us. And that's why I ran in 2019 to see if we could make that difference.
Okay, so let's go back a bit in history. His military administration, his military regime, rather, it was not an administration, his military regime was equated to a dictatorship. Historians will tell you that what happened then was typical of a military leader, and it was pure dictatorship. He led the dictate. He has never proven to be a good leader in a democratic setting, and yet you trusted him enough to leave his military training and become a good leader in 2015. That's what you're trying to say.
Well, effective leadership is contingent upon the environment. What works in America is not going to work in Nigeria. And what works in Nigeria is not going to work in France or the United Kingdom. As at that point in history, as at time of 2015, we needed more of a strong leader, a strong leader that can influence things to happen. So at the time Buhari gained power, some of you may remember, none of these corrupt people were being arrested. They get to arrest them, the case keep going through the cobwebs some years and all that, they're traveling overseas and all that. So we were looking for somebody who was determined to make that difference. That's what we're looking for. So even though he might have come through dictatorship in the 1984, at that point, we thought that some level of, a little bit of this and a little bit of it could help for us to accomplish what we needed to do. After all, don't forget that Jerry Rawlings, at a certain point in history, was viewed as a brutal dictator. But at a certain point too, the world will see him well after he made the desired difference in Ghana. You know what I mean? At that time, Jerry Rawlings was viewed as a maximum dictator. But today, Ghana has become a model in African democracy. And Jerry Rawlings left this earth as a hero. Even though he did not achieve power through democratic process, but he made the desired impact. And that's what we're looking for in Buhari when we supported him in 2015.
Okay, so people would argue with you that Buhari is actually a strong leader. I mean, his politics and his policies, his public policies have carried this trait of a strong leader. What he says he's going to do, he actually goes ahead to do it regardless of the consequences in such a way that people are now saying Nigeria's democracy is in a decline, and what they're practicing is dictatorship and pseudo democracy. So if you're looking for a strong leader, I think Buhari has achieved the personality of a strong leader. So you have to clearly define the kind of strong leader you wanted when you supported him in 2015.
No, a good strong leader will go towards the good purpose, towards the greater good of the people, not towards the greater evil. You got to go towards the common purpose, the greater good of the people. Leadership is not defined in point of negativity, it's defined in point of positivity. So his own strongness is towards a negative consequence. He's a strong leader in promoting terrorism. Buhari is a strong leader in promotion of terrorism. He is not a strong leader in delivery of greater good of the people.
Okay, so let's talk about the headsmen that you mentioned earlier. Yes, Buhari is still headsman. And what is linked? Is there any direct link between Buhari and the headsmen currently terrorizing most parts of the north and the middle belt?
Well, I mean, I think I addressed this before. If you see a guy carrying a gun, he comes to the village and is killing people. You don't send people to arrest him. What are you promoting? By consequence, you are promoting terrorism. And if you promote terrorism, then you're a terrorist. I mean, I don't even know why, Augusta, why we should, I mean, the whole world now sees Buhari's regime as a terrorist regime. That's how the world views him.
Yes, I agree. The world views Nigeria as a democracy in decline, no doubt about that. But you and I know, like you said, you're a realist. The ruling party would most likely remain in power come 2023. What should other parties or what should other people that desire positive change do to change this fact today?
You mean what we do to...
How can we change this?
Well, we have a very... in a normal climb, Buhari should have been removed from power. And it's not late. It's a situation of we having an effective legislature that can realize that the country is collapsing, find a way to impeach and remove him. And the earlier they impeach him,
that is possible?
Well, if it's not possible, there may also be collapse with it. Things cannot remain like this. That you understand. There is trouble in the East. There is trouble in the West. There is trouble in the North. Things cannot remain like this. Go and look at your history. Evil doesn't prosper for too long. Not for too long. Even Abacha was not this bad.
Dr. Ogbonnia, can you hear me? The screen is frozen.
I can hear you.
Okay, so let's talk about the legislature and the process to impeach the president. Currently, Nigeria is run by APC, and it also affects the legislature and even the government currently. Is the ruling party in all aspects. Most of our legislators, most of our lawmakers are from the APC. Do you think that these people would go against their party interests and impeach the sitting president? Do you actually believe that's something that will happen anytime soon?
Augusta, the fact is that even those in the opposition have not even tried. They haven't made the desired effort whatsoever to find a way to remove Buhari from power. Let the opposition unite first. If the opposition can unite towards removing Buhari, you may be surprised. Some of us in the ruling party may then gain some interest. But the opposition has to lead first. Abaribe has to lead. It's not leading right now. It's being just an activist. Abaribe has to lead. Leading means getting your people together. Then find some alliance within the broader Nigerian geography and find a way to remove this guy from power. Let the opposition party, PDP, get united first. If they can get united, then you come to us in the APC. Then we'll see what we can do. But today, PDP is not united. Let's start from the Southeast. Let Abaribe find a way to unite the Southeast first. Let him unite the legislators from the Southeast. Once they are united, because that's what his leadership is all about, right? Ability to unite people. If you're able to unite the Southeast, then you can go to South. Then you can go to Southwest, then not middle belt. Then Buhari collapses. But don't be telling me we can't do this because APC is in power. Someone has to try. Abaribe and Pip and co have not tried.
Okay, so let's remember our topic is assessing Buhari's administration from 2015 to 2019. We are trying to look at his administration and if they failed or if they succeeded in helping Nigeria and leading it to a better place than it was back in 2015. Now, let's look at his public policies. Like I said earlier, his public policies have carried a thread of him being a strong leader. His diplomatic relationships have made Nigeria be considered a democracy in decline. What's your thoughts about this?
I don't think I really understand your question. I mean,
no, I'm telling you to assess his public policies, especially as it relates to the image being projected of Nigeria to the United, to the international scene.
Well, I don't. It's difficult to see anything good in Buhari when the state is a terrorist state. That's how the world views Nigeria now. They don't see anything good out of Nigeria anymore. So people don't view Nigeria in terms of its dynamic youth or the dynamic workforce or what we can do. They're looking at it. What we hear, what people hear when they hear Nigeria is Sambisa Forest, terrorist here, the herdsmen. And you hear of Nnamdi Kanu, you hear of Igbo. Nobody hears of any other public policy. Buhari's public policy is terrorism. Buhari's public policy is terrorism, and he has a purpose. He knows what he's doing.
So you're saying that this is in quotes terrorism action or terrorist action is strategic and is helping his administration. That's what they're trying to imply.
You see, by going his terrorist ways, he's deepening his evil policies through terrorist activities. Buhari is deep. You notice where, okay, one of the evil policies that he allows the terrorists, Fulani herdsmen, their freedom in the Nigerian space. And he likes that. That's his terrorist army. So he's using that. That's his public policy. But what else do we talk about Nigeria? Are we talking about education now, Augusta? Are we talking about healthcare, Augusta? Are we talking about even the Olympics? Are we talking about the Olympics? What we talk about Nigeria is terrorism. Are you with me?
Okay. Yes, I am. I'm listening to you.
You haven't asked me about when is any airport going to start functioning to you. You didn't ask me about the decay in Lagos airport. You did not ask me about Lagos Abuja road. All we're talking about is all about terrorism. Next minute is Nnamdi Kanu Siboho, is Sowore. We don't say anything else meaningful towards the greater good. So what do you call such a state? What do you call it?
Okay, so let's move on. Okay, so with your experience as a leadership expert, you did a PhD in leadership. That's amazing, by the way. With so much experience, what would you have done differently if you were the president?
I know the Nigerian problem, like no other person does know it. The Nigerian problem is not lack of natural resources. It's not the lack of human resources. It's not the lack of the policies. The Nigerian problem is lack of personality, a leader who can influence those policies to practical consequences. That's the Nigerian problem. And I see myself to be that leader. I can make things happen. So when you're talking about policy, oh, look, think of anything going on in Nigeria. The policy had been initiated about 20, 50 years ago. Lagos Onitsha Road is a good government, it's a good public policy, right? Do you know how many times politicians have looted the funds earmarked for the construction or development of Lagos Onitsha Road? Do you know how many times, billions, and nobody's asking where is that money? Do you know how many billions that were pumped into Enugu Airport during the time of Jonathan regime? Where is that money? I don't know if have you ever followed this thing? It's Mambila, the power station somewhere in the north. Do you know how many times we were expecting that it was going to go full stream and the money were all embezzled? Think of any public policy, think of any project. So what we are looking for is a leader who can influence these policies towards efficient implementation. That's all Nigeria needs. Even if you change your constitution, it's not going to change that. Even if you restructure, it's not going to change that. Or you're looking for a leader who can influence those policies to effective implementation. And it doesn't have to be at the national level. Let the governor of Anambra State show me, lead. Let the governor of Oyo State lead and make a difference in his own state. That's the problem with Nigeria. The governor of Enugu State is not a Fulani man, is he? The governor of Kwara State is not a full, well, I don't know about Kwara. The governor of Oyo State is not a Fulani man. He can demonstrate leadership there. So sometimes we make this so complex, a restructure, a constitution, blah, blah. Come on, man. Let them stop deceiving us. Lead from where you are. Lead with the allocation you get. Look at Anambra State, for instance. What doesn't Anambra State have? Look at Oka, 20-something years later. Look at Oka. Who do you blame for Oka? Lack of development in Oka. Who do you blame? Do you blame the Fulani? Do you blame the Hausa? Or do you blame the Yoruba? Yet you are, come on. We need leaders, not constitutions.
Okay, Dr. Ogbonnia. From the way you sound like someone that has aspirations to run come 2023. Am I mistaken?
Well, there's no vacancy in Aso Rock.
Are you sure about that?
There's no vacancy in Aso Rock.
Okay, so you're preaching change and you're preaching being a 360 leader basically, and saying lead where you are, you don't have to be in a place.
You are breaking up. I didn't hear you.
Sorry, do you have any movement or any organization that's pushing this idea, especially in Nigeria?
Well, of course, we have movements around the world. That movement is, first of all, to find a way that Buhari can step aside.
Sorry, I didn't get that. What can you repeat what you said?
I said we have a movement, and my movement is geared towards to ensure how Buhari can resign.
What movement is that?
I said we have a movement, and that movement is purely for Buhari to how he can step aside or resign or be impeached.
If he steps aside, if he's impeached, if he resigns, what is the contingency? What will happen later? What next when he resigns or when he's impeached? So if he actually does that, what next? You have somebody in mind to take his
then we can have free and fair election.
You think he's the problem, or he's the reason why we're not having free and fair election right now in Nigeria?
Buhari is not promoting free and fair election, and I'm sure you know that. You look at what happened the other day with the electoral laws, right? And none of the leaders there are really praying for free and fair election. They're not. Even those guys in the Senate and House of Representatives. If you want free and fair election, what you should first do is to create a bipartisan electoral commission. I wrote it not long ago. I think it was equally published at Elomba. That's what you need, a bipartisan electoral commission, as in the United States. The APC and PDP and some other should be members of the Electoral Commission.
And what will this achieve? Free and fair elections?
At least they have some semblance of free and fair. They have a semblance of fairness. You cannot come and dictate who is the electoral commissioner in Enugu State, in Anambra State, in Ogun State, in Katsina State, and expect it to be fair. No, it's not going to be able to. It won't be fair. These are your boys. How do you expect it to be fair when some guy is dictating who wins and who loses? Is that fair?
Okay, remember that you can join the discussion simply by raising up your two hands, and we will try to accommodate you. As time permits us, we are discussing accepting President Muhammadu Buhari's administration for 6 years, that's from 2015 to 2019, 2021, that's today. And I would want to ask you about the economic situation in Nigeria. I'd want to ask you a perception of that, but I'm sure you're going to link it back to President Muhammadu as a terrorist and how development cannot happen if Nigeria is a terrorist organization. But please, do you have anything to say about the economic situation in Nigeria, considering now that $1 is equal to 522 naira, which is a huge leap from what we had back in 2015?
Well,
Do you
that
have
one is
anything
simple.
to say?
Yeah, that one is simple. First of all, they have to invest in power generation, so that you can produce most of the stuff you buy abroad at home. That's it. I think we had such in our mind when Buhari was gaining power, but all that stuff, nobody pays attention to all that now. We thought we could have some steady power supply by now, so that some of these groups like who are producing things that Nigeria could produce. If you continue to depend on import of all the vital services, the economy is never going to go anywhere. You know? And what surprises me is that you shouldn't take a rocket science to produce power in Nigeria. That's actually my fear. You shouldn't take rocket science to produce power in Nigeria. Right? You shouldn't. It's all games. They know what they're doing. You shouldn't take a rocket science to fix Kaduna refinery or Porako refinery or Warri refinery. They know what they're doing. It's corruption. So I don't even want to talk about all the economic aspect of without thinking about who is in charge. No matter how the type of ideas you have, University of Nigeria, Nsukka has some fine economists, same thing with Lagos and the Ahmadu Bello and the Bado and all that. We're not lacking in initiatives or policies on how to articulate a good economic agenda for Nigeria, none of that. What we are lacking is somebody who can influence those policies to action, that's all. Go to UNN archives, you see very sound policies that are lying down there. Every year we are recycling, we are bringing new policies. Do something with the one you have first. Tell me any policy that was fully implemented. Give me an example. That's the problem.
Okay, so when I am talking about policies again, policies are made to strategically implement something. And you have said that President Muhammadu's public policies are in line with his evil intentions. Now, when you intend to do something, it means there's an end game. What do you think President Muhammadu's end game is? Come 2023, because 2023 he will have to.
Let me tell you what Buhari is trying to do. You see, he craves crisis. He's creating crisis
he will
everywhere.
Have to leave. So what?
No, I'm trying to say, I say Buhari craves crisis. He's creating crisis everywhere. At a certain point, you may not be surprised he's going to find a way to surrender power, to do some type of palace coup and step aside and allow his militant groups to continue. Before you know it, you find ways he's going to tell people that Nigeria is not in a situation for an election. He's creating crisis. He's doing it on purpose.
So you believe his end game is to take Nigeria back to the military regime?
His end game is to deepen his evil policies. Buhari has an evil agenda. And see, 2 years is not enough to deepen those policies. Let me ask you a question, Augusta. Who do you think can take over from Buhari and rewrite his policies? Think of it. The entire Nigerian waterways are being managed by his militant group. The whole NNPC is being managed by his militant group. The army, the armed forces are being managed by his militant group. So who is going to be able to remove them so soon? And now he's telling you that all the Fulani from all over the world are now free to come to Nigeria, right? And become citizens by consequence. He wants to deepen those evil policies, and 2 years is not enough. That's what he's doing. Does he act like somebody who wants to leave power? There is secession in the East, secession drive in the East. There is secession drive in the West. is fighting the East now, he's fighting the West. So how do you think the guy is seeking peace? How do you think someone can conduct election if things continue this way? That's
okay, so I'm going to
to
call on Eloban Television now. Okay, I'm going to call on Eloban Television now. I think I see his hand up. Eloban Television platform is yours. Go ahead and ask the question.
Recording in progress.
Eloban Television.
Okay, did you call me?
Yes, please go ahead and ask.
Okay, I thank you very much. Dr. Ogbonnia, I'm still trying to get over my head your assertion that President Buhari is determined to deepen his evil policies. And considering the nature of Nigeria, how complex Nigeria is, first of all, I want to be clear. What are the specific evil policies you have in mind? And then how do you think he will get away with them in a complex country like Nigeria?
First of all, Nigeria is not complex. Nigeria is a zombie state. Tell them they follow. If Nigeria is complex, Buhari wouldn't have continued to remain in power by now. If Nigeria is ever complex. So don't use that word complex. Nigeria is not complex. Nigeria is easygoing. How could this guy remain in power? Does he have school certificate? Heck no.
No, but where we has won an election, and the Constitution says that when you won an election, you will stay there for 4 years, and then you're entitled to go back and seek for another 4 years.
Yeah.
So how do you envisage he will be taken away from power when he has a constitutional mandate to serve out his tenure?
Well, if you go by constitution, he's not qualified to be president because he doesn't have the basics of qualification to become president.
But he's there already.
If he's there already, what do? You find a way for impeachment, which we talked earlier.
Well, to impeach a president, you need 2/3 of the national legislature.
Because
vote?
We have not really tried. I said, let the opposition unite first. If the opposition can unite for us to remove Buhari, let how many senators we have, 40 something or whatever, let them get together first. Let them believe that let us remove Buhari.
Where is the president? Do you have a president where a Nigerian president has been any effort to impeach a Nigerian president and then it succeeded?
Well, the same way we were thinking in 2015 that an opposition party has never gained power in Nigeria. It happened. History can be made. You were not there in the 60s, or in the 50s. You are here now. We are going to be the one to make the difference. I was not there in the 60s. We're going to be the one to make the difference. So I don't want people to be saying history. No, what history? You can create your own history.
Okay. If you say Nigeria is not a complex state, why was it impossible for Babangida to perpetuate himself in power, for instance? Why was it impossible for Abacha? Well, even though we are told he died, why was it not possible for him to perpetuate himself in power? Why was it not possible for Obasanjo to get his 3rd term, for example?
Elomba, my brother, said, Amechi said it best. Rotimi Amechi said Nigerian leaders misrule us because we allowed them. We allowed them. You see them, they go to the National Assembly and they come back with Ghana must go. The youth are following them around, and when they give them the money, everybody forgets about it. And they're dancing, broom, house, all that stuff. Come on, Nigeria, it's not complex at all. Nigeria is a zombie state. They do whatever you ask them to do.
But they stopped Obasanjo's 3rd term.
Obasanjo's 3rd term was stopped because we had a leader in Ken Nnamani who could say enough is enough. Remember I told you all about leadership. We had a leader in the Senate Who didn't want to wine and dine with Obasanjo at that critical point in history? He's too strong. How can Nigeria be complex and you go to somebody's place and kill people at the middle of the night and nothing happens and the president is still in power? He did not even make a statement on that. Come on, give me a break. Nigeria is not complex. Nigerian people are tamed. Nigerian people are tamed. People who fight for Nigerians are not being promoted. People who hate Nigerians are being promoted.
Dr. Ogbonnia, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll call Charles. Mr. Charles, please go ahead. The floor is yours. I can see your hand up. Mr. Charles.
Doctor, it's good to have you. Charles Ozemena.
It's a pleasure.
I joined the cold region of Plateau State. I mean, just at the present, even though I respect my question. You made an interesting which drew my attention. You said there's no vacancy in Aso Rock. And could you please expatiate on that?
I think there was one article I wrote about 2 weeks ago. It was like, if Kano and Igboho, Buhari creating crisis to elongate his power. You see, if Nigeria goes in flames, are you going to be able to have an election? The answer is no. You have election when things are a little bit stable. Do you think you can have an election the year 2021 the way things are? No, you cannot. You're not going to be able to have an election in the West as it stands. You're not going to be able to have an election in the East as it stands. The same thing with even Katsina, the home state of the president. You can't have an election in those places. The nation is in crisis. And Buhari continues to propagate this crisis until when it becomes too late to have the election. And you're going to hear, Nigeria Kolobe. You see some type of leaders emerge, which Buhari will produce. There is no way Buhari can be expecting to step aside or do free and fair election where he's in the war, is at war with the East, is at war with the West, is at war with the Middle Belt, is even at war with his own people. Do you think the guy listens to anybody? Heck no. We have such people in history. And the only way we can go about it is, number one, if the senators cannot remove him or the legislature cannot remove him, then we have to find a way to appeal to the international community to help us with Nigeria.
But Doc, even taking it from your position, and getting the people to be wise about who is on the top, who is leading us in the person of Buhari, and knowing fully well that if the crisis continues, that will be, it will be difficult to conduct the next 2023 election. Will it not be better that the people realize this and then both Igboho and Kano, and then to relax the agitation in order not to give him excuses not to conduct the 2023 election? Don't you think so?
It's a very interesting question. But why I find it difficult to fault Kano or Igboho, because of the mere reason that Buhari may bring somebody worse than him. You know what I'm talking about? So it's important that these noises are necessary. They're necessary for nation building, for national development. They're necessary. You have to have people who agree and people who don't agree. It is important. So what Kano is doing is agitation. The same thing with Igboho. And yes, Right now, I'm in the state of Texas. I'm in Houston, Texas. And there are people who have been agitating for the Republic of Texas since almost 200 years ago. Every day you go on the street, you see people agitating for the state of Texas. You don't lock them up. You don't lock them up. People have the right to agitate. People have the right to agitate. Yeah.
Yeah, Doc, Doc, why I agree with you that people have the right to agitate. But in the circumstances that present themselves as ours, where we are dealing with a dangerous person, I don't think it would be wise to adopt what I call it, maybe a foolish strategy, a strategy that makes us look like fools until the man is chased away. Then you can now come up, you know, with their fangs, because you will now be dealing with a more senior leader.
Charles.
Yes, Doc.
I hear you. But you see, when the leaders don't do what they need to do, that's one article I wrote 2 weeks ago, that Nnamdi Kanu is suffering for the failure of Igbo leaders. He's suffering for the sins of Igbo leaders, right? Nnamdi Kanu is suffering for the sins of Igbo leaders. If the Igbo leaders can lead, there'll be no Nnamdi Kanu. If the Yoruba leaders can lead, there'll be no Nnamdi, there'll be no Igbo. Let me give you a good example. If the herdsmen were destroying farms in Yoruba land and Buhari doesn't want to listen, what do governors do? They get together. They can even tell their congressmen, their legislators to get together. They don't have to go to Aso Rock. They can boycott. They can boycott. Send a strong message. But if the herdsmen are destroying farms, then you see a Yoruba senator at Aso Rock dancing, or you see an Igbo senator at Aso Rock dancing. What do you think? So we have Kanu because of failure in leadership by his people. And we have Igboho because of failure in leadership by his people. We have Sowore because of failure in leadership in Nigeria. If these people can lead well, there will be no Nnamdi Kanu. Remember, Nnamdi Kanu started because there was lack of development in Biafra land. If Biafra land was developed within the last 16 years of pure economic boom, where the Biafrans were in power, if the Biafrans were able to capitalize on the position of a Biafran president in Goodluck Jonathan, if we were able to capitalize and develop the East, there will be no Nnamdi Kanu. The East will be developed. There will be no need for call for secession. The same thing goes with Yoruba. The same thing goes with Middle Belt. So that's why I look at these things. Nnamdi Kanu had to have his pace. I shouldn't ask him to stop what he's doing. He has the right.
Yeah, Doctor, I quite agree with you that I share in your sentiments here, and I quite agree with you that you know, the circumstances have propelled all these agitations, you know, running across the country. But we are looking on to 2023 general elections, which is what, if you want the change that we aspire at this very moment, then everybody should prepare election and energy towards finding, you know, better candidates. But if these agitations continue, the point I'm trying to make is that don't you think you are fueling, you are fertilizing ground for the man in Aso Rock to put?
No, Charles. The man in Aso Rock has an agenda. He has an agenda. If the Kanu and the Igbo are not doing what they're doing now, it could have been worse. It could have been worse. When Buhari boycotted the entire Eastern quadrant, when they are allocating the rail lines, what did the Eastern people do? Yet he was building it all the way to, is that Niger Republic or somewhere? What did Eastern people do? At that point, That's where Abaribe and the South people could have boycotted the National Assembly and sent a strong statement and also ask their federal minister to withdraw. That's how you boycott is a part of leadership and it's allowed in democracy. The fact of the matter is that the people who lead us, they do something in the daytime, they do something another at night. If we have true leaders who can stand and say, you know what, this is what I believe in. Don't get me wrong, I hear, you know, Abaribe is doing his best, but he's more of an activist. Abaribe is not a leader. If he can lead, he can get these people together for us to accomplish our objectives as Nigerian people. And he can drive that agenda because the opposition is the opposition leader.
Okay, Doctor, final question from here. Final question, please, from my own end. I would want to ask you, Doctor, is it not better that people like you mobilize the rest of the country towards 20 and ensuring that the man there lives? Is it not a better? Because if you continue to stay there, and an agenda he has will continue to be sustainable. Is it not all the leaders, people like people on your like you, begin to mobilize the entire nation towards this very goal instead of agitation?
No, we're not really. I'm not into the agitation movement. Don't forget, I ran for the presidency of Nigeria, so I still believe in the one Nigeria. You understand? I think it can still work. So we are doing our part. See, things have changed. Things have changed. We are doing our part from the diaspora. Things have changed. You understand? Things have changed. Buhari's decisions had limitations now. It's not like in the past. Things have changed. We have Nigerian Josephs now. We have people in the diaspora who can, you know, do you know what I mean? The biblical Josephs, right?
Yes, I know.
Nigeria has produced millions of biblical Josephs who are doing their part. Don't worry, we are working hard. The goal is to make sure that Buhari lives. He has to.
Dr. Ogbonnia. Just before we let you go, because our time is fast spent, I just want to correct an impression. You said Nnamdi Kanu came as a result of Australian leadership, and the Biafra had their leader, and he failed them. Remember that Biafra is for the Southeast. Goodluck Jonathan was from the South. I just wanted to correct that. The Southeast are still agitating that they've not had an Igbo leader, and that's one of their plenty agitations that is costing the Biafran struggle.
What do you say about South?
Jonathan, President Goodluck Jonathan, was from the South, not the Southeast. And the fact that Igbos have not produced a president is one of the reasons Nnamdi Kanu is agitating for Biafra. I'm just making that note.
Augusta,
okay, let's move on.
Augusta, please, before you go further, please.
Okay.
Well, I can see Jonathan is a Biafran.
He would argue that.
Just a minute. He can't even argue it. Bayelsa was in the old eastern region that fought the Biafran War. It is because of lack of history that I hear people like Abaribe and all these guys representing the Southeast. Biafra is not a Southeast agenda, guys. Biafra is not even an Igbo word. It's more of an Ijaw word. We used to have a bite of Biafra. The person who christened Biafra is not an Igbo man. It's Opigo from current River State. All right. The last president of Biafra is Philip Effion. He's from Akwa Ibom. You understand? The South, you know, just a minute. Nzogo, the man well known for 1960s coup that led to the war, is from the South. Right?
Okay, Dr. Ogbonnia.
No, just a minute. Just a minute. So, because that's a real misrepresentation in the press, and I'm very disappointed with the Nigerian media for not recognizing this. That's what Nigeria wants you to believe. Biafra is not a Southeast affair. The Igbo people go beyond Southeast. If you want to just limit it to the Igbo. The Igbo people go beyond Southeast. Okay, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala is an Igbo woman. Pat Utomi is an Igbo woman. Nzog was an Igbo man. They're all in the South. Chibika Mechi is an Igbo man. The same thing with Okupu, the last secretary of Ohanese. Okweche was the president of Ohanese about a few years back, and he's from Niger Delta. But because there's no history anymore in your school, people like Augusta don't know about these things anymore. And that's the
Dr. Ogbonnia, I studied history and international studies. I'm very, very aware of the old Biafran map. And I'm just trying to let you know that your case is valid, but in current Nigeria, South would argue against it. That's my point. That there's no synergy between Southeast and South currently. Is one of the things we are trying to correct, one of the impressions we are trying to correct. I understand your point. Like I said, I am a historian myself. I understand your point, but it's not accepted currently in Nigeria. That's my point.
No, excuse me, Augusta. Do you know what's the name of Dokubo? Dokubo, remember that guy Dokubo? He's a leader of Biafra. He's a Biafran leader, right? So this is what federal government under Buhari wants you to assume. They want to assume, listen, remember when he called you a dot in the circle, right? That's the goal. And he already captured you. He wants to make the Igbo a dot in a circle, which is not true. That's the goal.
Okay.
The goal is to assume that Igbo has no access to the sea. That's why they're making it be like Biafra is purely a Southeast affair. That's not true. And that's what they want the younger generation to think. But interestingly, people like Nnamdi Kanu is a student of history. He read and understood what people like us know.
Okay, Dr. Ogbonnia, our time is fast spent. We can discuss this another time. Let's call Mazi Okoye. Mazi Okoye, I can see your hands up.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ogbonnia. I think listening to you is quite refreshing, because your criticism was not differential to any of these so-called leaders that we have in Nigeria. However, you said, you mentioned, or a quote you said that that effective leadership is contingent on the environment. That struck me to ask you, what is this environment that enables this kind of leadership for so long? Because I believe that what we are seeing today, as you rightly alluded to in your past remarks, that what we are seeing today is not actually made yesterday. It has been, in the making since, from the past 20 years. So what is this environment that enables this kind of evil that we see today in Nigeria? Thank you.
Well, what enables this is our legislature is subservient to the executive. Including those in the opposition and in those in the ruling. If the legislature is truly independent, we won't be having what we're having now. And also the economic situation in the country. A youth will take 1,000 naira from you to go and buy some airtime than to do what is right. So it is unfortunate, but when it's all said and done, I think the only way we can correct this is through a strong leader who has people at heart, who means well for the country, who wants to create a great legacy, not an evil legacy.
Okay, like I said, our time is fast spent, and that's all we can take on today's exclusive interview. we have been discussing with Dr. SKC Ogbonnia. He is a businessman, a leadership expert, and he participated in the 2019 election. He was an APC aspirant. Dr. Ogbonnia, it's been a pleasure having you here.
Thank you very much, and let's change Nigeria together.
Yes, let's do that. Remember to follow Elobam Television on all social media platforms. This interview has been streamed live and will be recorded on YouTube. You can also watch it on Facebook, and also follow me, Augusta, next